Welcome to another deep dive, and today we're going exploring the wild world of crypto heists. You know, those moments where millions, even billions of dollars in crypto vanish into thin air?
It's like the digital equivalent of those old school bank robberies,
Hmm.
but with way more zeros and a lot less dynamite.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is how these heists expose the vulnerabilities, not just in technology, but also in human behavior. And I think by looking at some of the biggest and most fascinating heists in crypto history, we can learn a lot about how to protect ourselves.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
It's like studying those classic art heists, the ones where they bypass all the security systems and make off with priceless masterpieces. Those stories teach us a lot about the weak points in any system, whether it's a museum or a blockchain.
So are you saying that crypto heists are like art heists for the digital age?
In a way, yeah, both involve a combination of technical skill cunning and exploiting vulnerabilities. And just like with art heists, the targets aren't always what you'd expect.
Okay, so let's dive into our first heist, shall we? We're going back to 2014, the era of Mt. Gox. Now, this was the biggest Bitcoin exchange at the time, like the Amazon of Bitcoin, and then boom, 850,000 Bitcoins gone, poof, vanished, worth over $450 million back then.
Gox was a huge deal. Everyone was using it. And then this massive heist happened. It sent shockwaves through the entire crypto community.
Imagine waking up one day and finding out that your go-to online store just lost a small country's worth of value overnight. That's essentially what happened with Mt. Gox.
It really shook people's trust in crypto exchanges and highlighted the need for stronger security measures.
So how did the hackers pull it off? Was it some kind of super sophisticated hack that only a tech genius could understand?
Well, it did involve some technical wizardry. They exploited something called transaction malleability, which basically allowed them to trick the Mt. Gox system into thinking it hadn't paid out Bitcoins when it actually had.
So it's like creating a fake receipt to fool the cashier?
Yeah, kind of, except in this case, the cashier is a complex blockchain system, and the receipt is a manipulated transaction record.
This is where my brain starts to melt a little bit. So if Mt. Gox had been using cold storage, you know, those offline wallets where you keep your crypto completely disconnected from the internet, could this have been prevented?
Potentially, yes. Cold storage is like having a separate vault for your most valuable assets kept entirely offline. It's much harder for hackers to access something that's not even connected to the internet.
So it's like keeping your gold bars in a safe buried in your backyard instead of leaving them out on the kitchen counter.
Exactly. And this is one of the big lessons from Mt. Gox, the importance of diversifying your storage methods. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially when it comes to crypto.
Makes sense. So the aftermath of Mt. Gox must have been a total mess. I mean, 850,000 Bitcoins gone. That's not something you just shrug off.
It was a disaster. Years of legal battles, investors still trying to get their money back. It really tarnished the reputation of early Bitcoin and left a lot of people wondering if crypto could ever be truly secure.
And it also exposed a big problem with transparency, right? I mean, even if Mt. Gox had some of those Bitcoins in cold storage, the bigger issue is that maybe they didn't even have all the Bitcoins they claimed to have in the first place.
Exactly. That lack of transparency was a huge issue back then. Today, you'd look for an exchange that's very open about its security practices, ideally with those proof of reserves audits, where an independent third party verifies that an exchange actually holds the crypto it claims to have.
So it's like choosing a bank that's been audited and regulated rather than one that operates in the shadows.
Precisely trust but verified. That's the motto in the crypto world.
Okay. That cooks all down, but not out. Let's fast forward a couple of years to 2016 and the DAO hack. This one involves a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, which sounds very futuristic and a little bit intimidating.
Yeah, DAOs were this big new idea in the crypto world. The idea was to create organizations run entirely by code with no need for human intervention, sort of like a self-governing corporation on the blockchain.
So a bunch of code making decisions about money sounds a little risky.
Well, that's exactly what some people thought, and it turned out they were right. The DAO in question had raised over $150 million in Ether to fund various crypto projects. The whole idea was to be this transparent, automated system where investors could vote on how the funds were used.
Sounds like a recipe for chaos.
Well, it kind of was, because a hacker found a loophole in their smart contract, the code that governs the whole thing, and managed to siphon off about $60 million.
So even though it's supposed to be this unstoppable code, it still had a flaw that a hacker could exploit.
Yeah, it highlights the fact that even with smart contracts, the human element is still crucial. You need people to carefully audit the code, anticipate potential vulnerabilities, and design systems that are resilient to attacks.
So it's like building a fortress with the strongest walls and the most advanced security systems, but forgetting to lock one of the doors.
Exactly. And the DAO hack led to a massive debate in the Ethereum community. They ended up doing a hard fork, essentially creating a new version of the Ethereum blockchain that reversed the hack.
Wait, rewind the blockchain. Didn't that cause a huge controversy?
Absolutely. Some people felt this went against the whole idea of blockchain being immutable, unchangeable. It resulted in the creation of Ethereum Classic, a separate cryptocurrency that maintained the original unforked blockchain.
So the DAO hack wasn't just about stolen money. It also caused a major rift in the Ethereum world.
Yeah, it was a defining moment for Ethereum.
Yeah.
And it highlighted the challenges of governing decentralized systems.
Two heists down to very different attack vectors and a lot of lessons learned. So far, we've seen how hackers can exploit both centralized exchanges like Mt. Gox and decentralized platforms like the DAO. Let's move on to the CoinCheck caper in 2018. This time, hackers stole $500 million in NEM tokens from the Japanese exchange. CoinCheck. What went wrong this time?
Remember how we talked about hot wallets versus cold storage?
Yeah, hot wallets are those online wallets that are connected to the internet, and cold storage is like those offline, super secure vaults, right?
Exactly. And CoinCheck, well, they basically kept everything in a hot wallet connected to the internet, vulnerable to attack.
So even after all that happened with Mt. Gox and the DAO CoinCheck still wasn't prioritizing security. That's wild.
It seems so right. But back then, the security practices in the crypto world weren't as mature as they are today. And to make matters worse, they didn't even use multi-signature security, which would require multiple authorizations for transactions.
So it's like having a bank vault with only one lock and the key just lying around?
Yeah, pretty much. And unfortunately, the hackers were able to exploit these weaknesses and make off with a huge sum of NEM tokens.
So did they get caught? $500 million is a lot of money to just disappear with.
Nope. They were pretty sophisticated and laundered the stolen NEM tokens through dark web mixers, which are designed to make transactions untraceable.
Ah, so they went full-on digital Bonnie and Clyde, huh?
You could say that this is why diversifying your storage methods is so crucial. Imagine if CoinCheck had kept the majority of their holdings in cold storage offline and inaccessible to hackers. The impact of the heist would have been significantly reduced.
So lesson learned. Don't put all your crypto in one place, and definitely don't leave it sitting in a hot wallet connected to the internet.
Exactly. Spread it out. Use cold storage for your long-term holdings. Be smart about your security practices.
Okay, so CoinCheck got hit hard, but what happened after the heist? Was there any fallout beyond just the financial loss?
Oh, definitely. This one had some serious cultural consequences in Japan. The CEO of CoinCheck had to publicly apologize by bowing a huge gesture of remorse in their culture. And the Japanese government cracked down hard on crypto exchanges, bringing in much stricter regulations.
So it was a costly lesson for both CoinCheck and the entire Japanese crypto industry.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that security breaches have ripple effects. They can impact not just the individual platform, but the entire industry and even national regulations.
It seems like each of these heists is pushing the crypto world towards better security practices.
Yeah, it's like a constant arms races. Race hackers find new vulnerabilities, the industry responds with new safeguards, and the cycle continues. But with each iteration, we get a little bit closer to a more secure and resilient crypto ecosystem.
Okay, before we move on to the Poly Network pull down, I'm curious about something. What would you say is the biggest takeaway so far from these first three heists?
I think the biggest takeaway is the absolute necessity of doing your own research. Don't just blindly trust any exchange or platform. Look for clear evidence of strong security practices, transparency in how they handle funds, and a track record of responsible behavior.
So it's like don't trust, verify applied to the crypto world.
Exactly. And that applies to every aspect of crypto, not just exchanges. Whether you're choosing a wallet, exploring a new DeFi platform, or even just clicking on a link in a crypto-related email, always take a moment to assess the risks and verify the source. Your crypto security is ultimately your own responsibility.
All right, solid advice. Now, I'm really intrigued by this Poly Network pull down. You said it was a wild one. What happened?
This is where things take a very interesting turn. Get ready for a heist with a plot twist.
I'm all ears. Let's hear it.
All right, so picture this. It's 2021, and a hacker, or maybe a group of hackers, nobody really knows for sure, manages to pull off the biggest crypto heist we've seen so far, over $600 million, gone from the Poly Network platform just like that.
Whoa, 600 million. I mean, we've talked about some big numbers today, but that's a whole other level. So how did they do it? Did they find some master key to the whole system or something?
That's the thing. It wasn't about brute force or breaking into some super secure vault. It was all about exploiting vulnerabilities in Polynetwork's code. Kind of like what happened with the DAO, but on a much grander scale.
So they found a weakness in the code and just siphoned off hundreds of millions of dollars. But how did they even get away with that much money? Wouldn't it be super obvious on the blockchain?
You'd think so, right? But here's where things get really interesting. They returned almost all of it.
Wait, they returned it. Like they pulled off this massive heist and then just gave the money back. That doesn't make any sense.
I know it sounds crazy, but that's exactly what happened. The hacker, or hackers, called themselves Mr. White Hat and claimed that their motive was to expose the vulnerabilities in Polynetwork security.
Mr. White Hat. So like a good guy hacker. Like they were doing Polynetwork a favor by stealing all their money.
Well, it's not quite that simple. They left messages on the blockchain basically saying, hey, look at all these holes in your system. You better fix them before someone else exploits them for real.
So it was like a very expensive security audit. I guess that's one way to get a company's attention.
Yeah, it definitely got people talking, and not just within the crypto community. The whole world was watching this unfold. It was like a real-life thriller playing out of the blockchain.
Okay, so what happened next? Did Polynetwork just say, oh, thanks for pointing that out. We'll get right on that?
They actually responded to the hacker on the blockchain. It was this public back and forth, pleading with Mr. White Hat to return the funds and even offering them a job as their chief security advisor.
Wait, they offered the hacker a job? I mean, it's a pretty good way to guarantee they won't hack you again, I guess.
It definitely made headlines, and to everyone's surprise, Mr. White Hat accepted the offer.
Okay, now my head is officially spinning. A record-breaking heist return funds, a job offer. It's like something out of a movie. What does this all tell us about the world of crypto security?
I think the Polynetwork incident shows us a few things. First, it proves that no system is truly invulnerable, no matter how advanced the technology. Human error or code vulnerabilities can always create opportunities for exploitation.
So there's no such thing as perfect security. It's like a constant cat and mouse game between the good guys and the bad guys.
In a way, yes, but it also highlights the complex relationship between hackers and the crypto community. In the early days, it was all about stealing and disappearing. But with Mr. White Hat, we see a different motive. Desire to expose vulnerabilities, maybe even improve the overall security of the ecosystem.
So are we seeing the emergence of a new kind of ethical hacker in the crypto world?
It's definitely a possibility. We're seeing more and more bug bounty programs where platforms reward hackers for finding vulnerabilities. It's a way to incentivize security research and proactively address weaknesses before someone else can exploit them.
So it's like harnessing the power of the hackers for good, turning the bad guys into the good guys.
You could say that. It's a recognition that you can't build a secure system in isolation. You need to engage with the broader community, including security researchers and even ethical hackers, to find and fix vulnerabilities.
Okay, so we've seen these 4 major heists, each with its own unique twists and turns. But if we take a step back, what's the bigger picture here? What's the main takeaway for our listeners?
I think the overarching theme is the importance of understanding and managing risk. The crypto world is still relatively new, and with that newness comes a certain level of inherent risk. Whether you're an individual investor or a major exchange, you need to be aware of these risks and take steps to protect yourself.
So it's like venturing into uncharted territory. There's potential for great rewards, but also a higher chance of encountering unexpected dangers.
That's a great analogy. And just like any explorer, you need the right tools and knowledge to navigate safely. In the crypto world, that means things like strong passwords, two-factor authentication, cold storage wallets, and a healthy dose of skepticism.
You mentioned doing your own research earlier. What are some red flags that people should look out for when they're evaluating exchanges or other crypto platforms?
Transparency is key. Look for platforms that are open about their security practices, how they manage funds, and their team's expertise. Don't be afraid to ask questions and demand clear answers. If an exchange is being secretive about its operations, that's a big red flag.
So it's like don't trust any exchange that hides behind a wall of secrecy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another important thing to look for is evidence of proactive security measures. Do they have a bug bounty program? Have they undergone independent security audits? Do they offer multi-signature wallets and two-factor authentication? These are all signs that a platform is taking security seriously.
It's like checking the safety ratings before you get on a roller coaster. You want to know they've taken all the necessary precautions.
Exactly. And lastly, pay attention to the community's perception. What are other users saying about the platform? Are there any red flags or concerns being raised? Reputation matters a lot in the crypto world.
So do your research, check the safety features, and listen to the community. Got it. Now, we've talked about platform security, but what about individual users? What are some common mistakes that people make that put their crypto at risk?
One of the biggest ones is falling for phishing scams. Hackers will send emails or messages that look totally legit, trying to trick you into revealing your private keys or login credentials.
Hmm.
Always double-check the sender's address and be very wary of any unsolicited requests for personal information.
So it's like the digital equivalent of those Nigerian prince emails.
Exactly. Another common mistake is not properly securing private keys. Remember, your private key is like the master password to your crypto wallet. If someone gets access to your private key, they can drain your funds. Never store your private keys on your computer or phone, and consider using a hardware wallet for added security.
Okay, so guard those private keys with your life. Any other common pitfalls people should be aware of?
Absolutely. Another one is not keeping your software up to date. Software updates often include security patches that fix vulnerabilities, so make sure you're always running the latest versions of your operating system wallets and any other crypto-related software.
So just like you wouldn't drive a car with salty brakes, you shouldn't use outdated software to manage your crypto.
Precisely. And finally, be wary of get-rich-quick schemes. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Skimmers often prey on people's greed or desire for quick profits. Always do your own research before investing in any crypto project or platform.
So if someone promises you guaranteed returns or unbelievable profits, it's a huge red flag.
Absolutely. Remember, there's no such thing as a free lunch in the crypto world. If someone's promising you guaranteed returns, they're either lying or involved in something shady.
Okay, so we've talked about platform security and common user mistakes, but let's zoom out a bit. What does the future of crypto security look like in a world where even the most sophisticated systems are vulnerable?
That's a great question. I think the future of crypto security is about combining technological innovation with human-centered design. We need to develop technologies that are not only secure, but also user-friendly and accessible to everyone, regardless of their technical expertise.
So it's about striking a balance between building more robust systems and empowering individuals to make smarter security decisions.
Absolutely. And one area that's really promising is the development of more sophisticated crypto forensics tools. It's like having a team of digital detectives who can track the flow of funds on the blockchain, even when hackers try to use all sorts of tricks to cover their tracks.
So even if a hacker tries to be all sneaky and use those mixers and stuff, these tools can still follow their digital trail?
Exactly. It's like leaving fingerprints at a crime scene. No matter how hard you try to wipe them away, there's always some trace left behind. And we're also seeing advancements in artificial intelligence and machine learning. AI can analyze massive amounts of data and spot patterns that humans might miss.
So AI could be like our crypto bodyguard, constantly watching for suspicious activity.
Yeah, kind of like having a super smart security system that can learn and adapt to new threats.
Okay, that makes me feel a bit safer. But what about something like decentralized insurance? Could that play a role in protecting people from losses?
Definitely decentralized insurance is a really interesting concept. It's like a community-based safety net, where users pool their resources to protect each other from losses. If someone's funds are stolen, they could receive compensation from this pool.
So it's like a crypto version of those old-fashioned mutual aid societies.
Exactly. It's all about spreading the risk and creating a more resilient ecosystem.
I like that idea a lot. It's like we're all looking out for each other, but we've talked a lot about the technology. What about the human element? Are there ways to address the fact that humans can sometimes be the weakest link in the security chain?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we can build the most advanced security systems in the world, but if people don't use them properly or fall for basic scams, it's all for nothing. One key area is the design of user interfaces.
You mean like how those platforms are actually designed for people to use?
Exactly. Right now, a lot of crypto platforms are just too complex and confusing for the average person to navigate safely. It's like trying to read a manual written in a foreign language. We need to move towards more intuitive, user-friendly designs that make it easy for people to do the right thing.
So it's about making security less intimidating and more accessible for everyone. It can't just be for the tech wizards, right?
Exactly. We need to meet people where they are and guide them towards better security practices that could involve things like simplified wallet interfaces, clear explanations of key concepts, and built-in security prompts that nudge people in the right direction.
It sounds like a shift from security by complexity to security by design. Make it easy for people to do the right thing.
That's a great way to put it, and I think the future of crypto security will also involve much more collaboration and information sharing. Platforms need to work together to share threat intelligence and best practices, and individuals need to be empowered to report suspicious activity and contribute to a safer ecosystem.
So it's not just about individual platforms or users being secure, it's about the entire crypto community working together to raise the bar for security.
Absolutely. We're all in this together. The stronger the collective security of the crypto ecosystem, the more trust and confidence people will have in it. And that's what will ultimately drive the mass adoption and mainstream acceptance of cryptocurrency.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the biggest crypto heists in history to the future of crypto security. What's the one key message you hope our listeners take away from this deep dive?
I think the most important takeaway is that security is an ongoing journey, not a destination. The crypto world is constantly changing, and we need to adapt and evolve along with it. Stay informed, be proactive, and never underestimate the importance of protecting your digital assets.
And remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand about the risks and how to mitigate them, the more confident and empowered you'll be in the crypto world.
Couldn't agree more. Embrace the learning process, stay curious, and never be afraid to ask questions.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the wild world of crypto heists. To all our listeners out there, stay safe, stay secure, and keep exploring the exciting world of cryptocurrency.